Today we're going to talk about the rear brackets for the tail. The most important parts on the tail you can even think of because it holds the plane together. Stay tuned. All right, I finally got it done and it came out really nice. As you can see that there was, originally there was a piece all the way across there and they had it outlined of where we were supposed to cut it and then trim it. And I did all the measurements to see if they had the lines on there correct, and they did a really nice job. But I went back on the lines with this and added just the width of that marker. I can always file that down if I have to, but that is exactly the extra that I left on this part and this here. This is that bracket with the tab. I'll just call this the tab. This is the outside bracket that a bolt goes through to the tab. And up here is the blow up of it. And this is the tab. And it's sandwiched between the outside bracket and this inside bracket. And that is the only thing holding the stabilizer to the airplane, except for, of course, where the tail overlaps. Okay, I finally figured out my edge distance. I wanted to get my pilot holes drilled before this is on the tail and I'm up on the airplane with it. So I absolutely know my edge distance there, and everything's going to be built off this bracket, edge distance wise, and it's going to make it, I added a 1/16 of an inch. It's going to make it a little more challenging to get this to clear the radius, but I can make a washer out of, carve that washer out that I make so that this sets without touching the head on the radius, and I'm pretty confident in that. And everything's going to be built around that dimension right there. Okay, this is where we're at on the stabilizer and the elevator. I've got all the parts prepped. I've got the ends all rounded, sanded. Found a really good way to denib without using the whole denibber, because that does countersink. I've noticed every time I use it. These were pretty wonky. I still got to do some work to them. I had to reflute this one right here a little bit, trying to get a little bit of bend out of it. Found a really good spot here. I take the angle pieces. I got a new technique. New. All this is new to me. But let's just take one of these pieces out here and I'll show you what I mean. Talk to the guys on Facebook, and they seem to think that it's okay. I lay this on here, use a block with 400, and it's the aluminum oxide paper, and just sand along really nice, flip it over and do the inside, and it just doesn't take off hardly anything, but it makes the holes nice and square. When I use the other tool, when I use this tool, which is a great tool, I've looked at it close. It does seem to countersink it slightly. I love the extension so that I can get into places, and this one's great for bigger holes, but I haven't got into that yet. But that's where we at on this. The other thing that I found is there's a little bit of bow in this. I can't get them completely out. I've taken two pieces of wood, like this is how I handled it, the bow. I put it right between two pieces of wood on the table and slightly pushed it down, and you can tell the resistance and what it can handle and what it can't handle. And then I progressively raised it up and kept touching the center like that, and then raised it up a little more, and it could keep handling more and more. but there's a point where it feels like it wants to open up. And I don't want to go that far. So I would take the part like that and then set it down and see how much pressure in the center it takes to get it to touch. And it's not very much. And I don't want to take that part any further than that. That seems acceptable. This is my elf hammer. I've always found in woodwork or in metalwork that maybe it doesn't make sense, but the smaller the hammer, the more you move the metal instead of just bending it. I just put that flute in there without fluting pliers. I got a method up there I was using, but I just wonder if these two holes now are so much closer that the skin's not gonna fit right. We'll find out. Stick around and find out. You gotta sneak up on it, right? You don't wanna all of a sudden just bend it. That don't work. I think that one's good. Now to just double check all the center ribs. These are easier to check. They're not as bowed. Use the edge of the table, it's really straight. You can just look down through it, see if there's any holes way off. Well, it's good. Well, I committed to this hole so that I would have enough meat around it. I know it's going to be hard with it being sandwiched and all to find exactly, once I get that centered on the plane, where to drill. But I'll deal with that then, because I didn't want to put this on and drill through and find out that my edge distance, because this is a crucial part to me. So I will figure that out later. The other thing I might do, which I started to do on this, I've ordered another one already, is I want to radius this so that if you know what this part is, the C75 F2-6, this fits on the very back of the fuselage. And I hope you know what I'm talking about here. When this is straight, it hits that radius really soon. So I think it should be modified enough to move the tail back and get more meat on this one also. More meat, more edge distance. There's a better chance of having enough down elevator and a few other things. I'm going to check clearance of the rudder, of course. And that's the plan. Well, everything was dried good enough that I could start clecoing it together. And this is the rear spar, the one with all the attachment brackets. And the only thing I would suggest at this point, so that was just a tad complicated, was the little niche right here. You can put those on in a way that when you attach this to that spar, these could be flipped over. So make sure that that is considered the bottom and it attaches to the rear spar. So all my niches are pointing down and all the flanges are pointing from the center out, and I'm ready for the next step. One other thing is the front attachment brackets can only go one way. They fit really nice. Well, I got to just throw this in there somewhere. Just a fun fact for my build is taking a drill and turning it around backwards in a vice grip and using it as a punch, because most punches are angled, at least mine are, and have a hard time getting holes lined up for several layers, and this works really well. It keeps you from upsizing with a drill. Like this one, I can't get it in, and it gives you enough leverage there. I finally did. It cleans. I don't want to ever upsize a hole with a drill if I can help it. And I will if I have to. And I got a lot of respect for scratch builders. I can't imagine. They're really good. And they don't get frustrated probably when they can't get a hole to quite line up. A lot of guys put these in a bowl, but I actually enjoy picking them up. Okay, we got our mess cleaned up. This is where I'm at. You see the picture. Once the ribs in the front and rear spar are riveted together, which they are, position the skeleton upside down, which it is, on the workbench and secure the back spar using plywood scrap. Level the front and rear spar. That's like information in the British baking show. Put flour in water and bake and make it a masterpiece. I wish they give us a little more idea what they want, but I'll figure it out. Maybe there's something on YouTube. Well, finally the next step. I'm gonna lay it on the table and try to get it as square as absolutely possible so the skin will be right. Okay, this is what I came up with. 3/8 piece of plywood, the cleanest kind I could find, to lift that edge enough in the front so that the back would be supported on the table. And then I put these little wafers in to retain it so that it doesn't want to tip forward. And I left them just the right tension so that I can still move it slightly if I have to. And the front looks like this. And I checked ahead, and of course the skin needs to lay over the table. So I set it back and I stapled it back across the front edge with a gauge so that it's equal. And I'm just leaving it back far enough that this doesn't touch it. And I'm really close to touching it. So what's the next thing? If you look at your book and it looks like this page, you're going to need another one printed. Just call them down there and they'll print you this one. The 750 FC-01. It's missing a bunch of stuff. All right, we're going to end this one right here. What's making me want to laugh is I just got done doing about 3 exits, outros, or whatever you want to call it. And they're just awful. I just seem so bored, like a big stick in the mud. But I'm not. I'm having a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Really enjoying it. So, yeah, the next video, we're going to put the skin on. Just got to denib it. And we'll know if the angle drill works good because I've got those little angles to build, and they're down in there tight. And come back and see that one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next one.